Mr. Cabraal, I reckon that you may not be remaining with us much longer, but just before you go, we would like to have the chairman of the ICC Sri Lanka, Mr. Dinesh Weerakkody, have a short conversation with you. So over to Dinesh, please.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, Minister. Thank you very much for joining us. You are very supportive of ICC. We are very grateful to you. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep the questions very short. I have picked 4 questions which I thought will be useful. The first question is the downgrade by the rating agencies, in our view, was a bit too harsh, given that the world is facing a global pandemic. What is the government doing to win back their confidence?
See, actually, rating agencies are people who express opinions. They don't actually do any investment as such. If you notice, they had downgraded about 39 countries in the post-pandemic period, which in my view is quite unfair, because every single country was challenged by the COVID impact. And as John Denton says, the G20 countries or any of these multilateral institutions did not even come forward with any kind of a solution to assist them at all. It was a squirt gun approach, tiny little spurts of drops of water on this huge conflagration of fire. But all the countries had responded in the way that they thought best, and they had gone forward. So I think the way that the rating agencies have approached it shows that they have not been sensitive to this situation. And Sri Lanka has pointed that out in no uncertain terms. At the same time, what is interesting, Dinesh, is that many of the investors did not respond in the way that we would have expected them to respond to a rating agency downgrade. They understand the Sri Lankan credit. They understand the challenges as to how how we have dealt with it. And the markets have actually responded in a pretty positive manner, in not reading too much into what the rating agencies have said. So the response that we have had was to approach the investors direct. We have always been upfront and frank with our investors. I have done many Zoom calls as well as individual calls with investors thereafter. We have had calls with all the bankers and key stakeholders, and we have given them our side of the story very clearly. And I think the market's response has been extraordinarily in favor of what Sri Lanka has been doing. If you take one case in point, in the last about 3 months since August, the total turnovers of the stock exchange in Sri Lanka has been 3 times that of the previous 5 years. You would have seen that the ASPI has been moving very rapidly. You would have seen that the commitment of Sri Lankan investors has been extraordinary. And that has been a very key factor in showing that the outside confidence, Dinesh, has been very strong. So we are buoyed by that. We are happy about that. But it also tells us there's a lot of things to be done, and we continue to do that in the time to come.
Yeah. John, can you hear me, John? I'd like to ask you a quick question. Do you think the international multilateral agencies are doing enough for the developing countries?
Short answer, no. I think one of the tragedies revealed by the pandemic is, one, in the lack of global cooperation, and 2, the ability to move quickly to recognize that we're in 2021, not 2008. This is not a financial crisis, it's a real economy crisis. And the playbooks that were being used initially, which is not adequate, which is why, as the Minister says, it's absolutely critical that the debt relief and the support from multilateral agencies is actually aligned to the real needs of real countries now, and in particular in developing countries, and the reality that middle-income economies are actually also struggling in this event as well. Definite pressure needs to be put on the G20 not to continue to kick this can down the road, but to grapple with it aggressively and forcefully in the first quarter of next year.
Okay, thank you. And John, another quick question. What can ICC do globally to sell Sri Lanka's story to the world?
Well, I mean, I got to you guys don't need a lot of help selling this story to the world. ICC Sri Lanka is a role model for ICCs globally. But what you can do is to continue to advocate with the minister to ensure that predictability, sustainability, are all features of the Sri Lankan and foreign investment roadmap. And in particular, we do respect and we want to see respect for the rule of law and integrity. The issue of anti-corruption is actually critical. And so your alignment with the global headquarters of our policy pushes in all these areas and your preparedness to speak truth to power is actually critical. Again, it's great to be on a panel with you. And I look forward to the opportunity to spending a bit of time with you, Colombo.
Thank you. Minister, the next question to you is, you have been clearly articulating the government strategy over the last couple of months, especially in Parliament. Do you have the soldiers on the ground to implement those strategies? That has been one of our biggest issues in Sri Lanka.
First of all, may I say thank you to John Denton for his remarks. We appreciate it very much, and you can be sure that we echo the same sentiments, John, mainly because we seem to sometimes lose track on the most important factors when we are confronted with the situation, and sometimes we lose out on the key aspects of what needs to be done. So I'm particularly glad that ICC and John has brought this out into the open, because it's vital that we look at these issues in that broad framework. The people on the ground, the boots on the ground, yes, we do have, except that they haven't really been harnessed very well for some time. So I think the challenge for us is to harness these people. If you see the COVID response of Sri Lanka, showed that it is possible to deal with even very, very difficult situations with a cohesive approach. And the people within the government sector as well as the private sector, they responded pretty well in dealing with these situations. We bounced back with our exports. We bounced back with our agricultural produce. Many of the industries started functioning again under very trying circumstances. We were able to balance between the health hazards as well as economic needs. So that's a tough equation, Dinesh. And in this last few weeks and months, it was shown very clearly that Sri Lanka has got what it takes to do so. It is just that we need to put these things together in taking it forward. So that will be the challenge. We are not downplaying the challenge. It is a big challenge. And I think if we get this thing together and then the coordination occurs, we would be in a position to actually deliver. Very quickly, I'll also tell you, we are hoping to open out the airport in due course for tourism as well as for business visitors to come. New regulations are being put in place to ensure the safety as well as the need for people to have a good holiday as well as do their business. So these are tough challenges, but I think we are getting there, and we'll have to make sure that the boots on the ground, that the people who are at the front lines are there with good briefings to ensure that these things actually could happen.
Minister, since we have a global audience here, what is your final question to you? What is your message to the world?
I'm saying Sri Lanka has a good platform to launch into the next phase of development. We have had the infrastructure developed. We have a good workforce. We have got very good soft infrastructure being developed. The health services, the educational services, the legal framework is being improved dramatically. We are attempting to maintain our macro fundamentals in good state. That has taken some beating in the past, but I think we are now on the right track. In the last 4 to 5 months, we have been on the right track. And I think if we can set the stage well, and the banking sector in which you are at the helm, Dinesh, you know that it is sound. There is a good focus as to where we want to go. So with all those contributions which will be pooled together, I think Sri Lanka will be a very, very good destination to attract foreign investment as well as to continue to grow. We have the potential. We have got the infrastructure. We have got the keenness of the government and the commitment of the government to support all these activities. The private sector is well versed in what needs to be done. So I think we only now need to put it together. And let's do that together. And I think your international chamber would be of immense use and importance. And the fact that you are taking a key role and a very catalytic role is something that we appreciate very much. And together, if you can take this message across to the others also, we'd like to see a lot more investors coming to Sri Lanka and taking positions with us to grow for the future. They also would be in a position to make money. Sri Lanka will benefit by that. And that's the partnership that we are seeking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. John, before I let you go, because you are such a busy guy, it's very difficult to get hold of you. Tell us what 2021 will look like for business before you sign off.
Well, the remarkable feature of 2020 has been how business has been able to rearrange and reorganize itself so quickly. If you look at supply chains, what's been absolutely remarkable has been the pure innovation and ingenuity of the private sector in redesigning, reorganizing, and reapplying their existing supply chains to meet the challenges of the pandemic. The challenges to supply chains were not the inadequate behavior of the private sector. The challenges to supply chains, which actually feed the world and enable the world to move, have been the discordant and irregular actions of governments. It's governments that caused the PPE disaster, not private sector. It's governments that caused the ventilator supply logjam, not the private sector. So looking forward to the 2021, I look forward to more ingenuity, more innovation, more resilience by the private sector. And you can be assured of one thing, that the ICC, with its voice at the UN and all the Bretton Woods institutions at a regional level, the practical tools we create, the institutions like our centers of entrepreneurship, we will be there striving to create an environment where the private sector can do what it does best, which is enable peace, prosperity, and opportunity for all. And we look forward to more ingenuity, more innovation, and more success. And we will be looking to do what we can to save those businesses that are under stress and give them the support they need and ensure governments bring their power as well.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Minister, for spending this time with us.
Dinesh, may I just take one?
Yes, sure.
Just say hello to my old friend, His Excellency Riaz. He's an old friend of mine and from Bangladesh when he was here. So good luck to you too, and lovely seeing you again. Thank you, everyone. Maybe I'll sign off now, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you, John, and thank you.
Thank you very much. As